Nigerian Bossman, and it's a pleasure to have you here on my channel once again. Today, I'm focusing on the interview of Oshiomole on the Arise News. I'm sure that maybe you might have watched that video. If you haven't, it would be good for you to watch it so that you can have a better understanding of this particular episode. Because Oshiomole was asked several questions, and his comments or his responses is what I'm focusing on in this particular one. Like you all know, the demand or the desire of Nigerians who are progressively minded, who are patriotic, is to see Nigeria as a country become better, far better than what it is for Nigeria to arise and take its place as it should have been in the midst of this whole mess we see that has arisen from the very compromised political class we have in Nigeria. Oshiomole, I'll say that he failed in his speech. He lied, and also he spoke in a very compromised manner, and you could see the anger that was all over him. And the reason why Oshiomole spoke that way is because he was speaking out of his own selfish political ambition. That was what motivated the speech. Because in response to the question, did the speech of Bola Tinubu address the desires and the demands of Nigerians who were wanting to go on protest? And he did categorically state that Bola Tinubu's speech, that he addressed the desires of those who wanted to go on protest in Nigeria. And I'm sure if you go on the internet, if you look at the different responses, whether on Twitter, whether on X, which is a former Twitter, or YouTube or other social media channels, you'll be able to see how disappointed Nigerians were to that particular national address. And that was what prompted Bola Tinubu to now come out the second time to give a second national broadcast, which again still failed to meet the demands of the protesters, because not at any point did he address the questions or did he address the demands of those who were pushing this protest. And for Oshiomole to have come out to say that Tinubu addressed the demands of the protesters was a big lie. Let us quickly look at some of these demands. We have to understand that these demands, some of them are short-term demands, and they are also long-term demands. So they are in two categories. Let us quickly run through some of them. Take for example, I also added some. Take for example, the review of government contracts for the last 5 years. He said that if you put in all these demands together, Nigerians or those pushing the protest were asking for a regime change. But was that really the underlying factor in this protest? No, I'll say a big no. A big no. Because take for example, investing in infrastructure to facilitate development. Is that asking for a regime change? A review of government contracts in the last 5 years? Reform of our judicial system. Is that asking for a regime change? A functional, accessible, affordable, and qualitative health care system. Is that asking for a regime change? The sack of the INEC chairman and reform of our electoral process. Is that asking for a regime change? A ban on open grazing and a decisive approach in dealing with the insecurity in Nigeria. Is that asking for a regime change? A return to regional government. Of course, he spoke on that. He said that the executive does not have the power to unilaterally change the structure of government. Of course, that is understandable because that is a decision which the different arms of government have to be involved, and even also other stakeholders, even including Nigerians ourselves. So that is quite understandable, but that is a long-term desire for Nigerians, because the current system we have has failed woefully, and also the demand for a unicameral system of lawmaking in Nigeria, where if we look at the system we have in Nigeria today, the American system, where we have a bicameral system, where we have the Senate and the House of Representatives, that has become a serious financial bottomless hole for Nigeria in terms of drain of our resources, because all kinds of people who have looted in their states, who have performed woefully in their different states, are not the one who are in the lawmaking arm. Most of them are now in the lawmaking arm of the government, including Oshiomole himself. So it's asking for a unicameral system of government. Is that seeking for a regime change? Is asking for a living wage for workers? Is that asking for a regime change? Is the demand for an end to handouts to Nigerians and all these so-called palliatives, which are largely even being looted by those in government, is that asking for a regime change? Is asking for the for a release of those who have been imprisoned because of their political interest? Is that asking for a regime change? So if we put all this together, I think one of the issues that many of these politicians, one of the issues with them is that they tend to think that Nigerians are largely ignorant, and so they come and say whatever they want to say, so as to facilitate those who they have political affiliations with. For Oshiomole, he should understand that one fortunate thing that can happen to a person is when you do not have those who speak the truth to you, whatever position you occupy. When you fail to have somebody or people who will look you in the eyes and tell you the truth in love, you are in a very precarious and dangerous situation. And that is what we have in African polity today, because most of the leaders do not have those who can look them in the eyes and speak the truth to them out of love, because those around the leaders in Africa, most of them are just there to sing praises to the leaders, so that they can also get their own share and then facilitate their selfish political ambition. And of course, Oshiomole belonged to that category. You see, counsel is very important. If you don't have those who give you wise counsel, it's a pity. It's a pity. Let us look at, I just want to take two verses from the Bible, because the Bible is very replete with advices on counsel. If you look at Proverbs chapter 19, verse 20, it says, "Listen to advice and accept instruction, that you may gain wisdom in the future." Then Proverbs 11, verse 14 says, "Where there is no guidance or where there is no counsel, a people fail or fall. But in the abundance of counselors, there's safety." So I'll even say, in the abundance of wise counselors, there's safety. Because you can have counselors around you, but those counselors are compromised. We can see cases of people who, because of the bad counsel they received, they ended up in a very, very terrible end. And so African leaders around the world in different categories, they need counsel. They need wise counsel. People who will tell them the truth as it is, make them see things in the light of how it is, not trying to bend or polish things. Because Oshiomole is quite aware that the demand of Nigerians that we outlined was not in any way asking for a coup or a regime change. Oshiomole led different protests. Bola Tinubu, he was involved in protests during Jonathan time, as was even stated in this particular interview. Was Bola Ahmed Tinubu at that time seeking a coup because he said Nigerians should demand for a change, for a better Nigeria. Okay, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as part of the protest, said that Nigerians should take back their country. I listened. I watched that particular video on when Bola Ahmed Tinubu participated in the protest during Goodluck Jonathan's period. So was he then asking for a coup? So today we see a very, very deep-seated hypocrisy in Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself and also Oshiomole and many of the politicians, because they only want to continue to facilitate their own selfish agenda as against the genuine desires of Nigerians. So the demand that we outlined was not in any way asking for a coup or a regime change. But you see, in leadership, if you cannot do what you signed for, the best thing is to quit the place. We have seen around the world many leaders occupying different positions just stand up to say, okay, I give up. I cannot deliver what is being asked for. That is the place of honor. That is the place where you can gain the honor of people when you realize that where the position you come to occupy, that you cannot deliver what the people desire. So the demands of Nigerians is not in any way asking for a regime change. Of course, the issue of the Russian flags being flown by people during that protest, I do not support it because I love Nigeria. Nigeria, I know, if these politicians, they come to their senses, if they do away with their leech mentality, I believe Nigeria can come to that place where it becomes the envy of the world. Because Nigeria is so richly blessed. But the problem we have is that we have a people who are just like a bottomless well, whose desire can never be satisfied. If we go to, again, to the issue of Edo State, because the last question Oshiomole was asked was on Edo State, the politics, the forthcoming elections. And before I go further, I just want to say to the Edo people and other states where, I think it's Ondo State also, where there's this off-cycle election coming up shortly, I just want to tell you that the best thing for you to do is to deviate, move far away from any of the candidates who are in these severely compromised parties that Nigerians have tried. Because let me tell you, if you have a plant on a contaminated and compromised ground, that plant will never yield a fruit that will be healthy in any way, because the ground is already compromised. And that is what we have in the APC and the PDP. So for Okpebholo, Asueghodalo, and Akpata, these are the three front runners in Edo forthcoming elections. These three men, in fairness to them, they have done well for themselves. But we have to look at precedents, because the Edo politics became a mess right from Oshiomole period, in connection also, right from even going back to the Lucky Gbenedion era, moving to Oshiomole. Oshiomole, who said he was trying to fight against godfatherism, has become part of the mess we are still having in Edo State. And also Godwin Obaseki, who himself said that he was also fighting godfatherism, has even made things worse than it was before. And so, for Edo people, my advice to you is for you to just put these two parties behind you. Let us try something totally different. And that something different is Olumide Akpata. I do not know any of these men, but I have spoken with people who know them well. And we have seen, for example, Olumide Akpata, the difference he brought in the Nigerian Bar Association, because he was once a leader of the Nigeria bar association, and the difference that he made there is very open and clear to everybody. So I think Nigerians, Edo people, should be able to make that difference. And for Oshiomole, you see, Nigeria is too blessed for it to be where it is today. These are some of the words you yourself used. But because you are now among those seated around where you are sharing the national cake, you have become so compromised that you cannot open your mouth to speak the truth. The best thing for you to do, if you indeed you say you are a leader, a father cares for whether his biological children or those outside his own fold. That is the mindset of a father. But unfortunately, you people in the leadership of Nigeria, you have lost that mindset of fatherhood. But I pray you are waking. And so, in conclusion, I would say that Oshiomole was not fair in his speech, because Bola Tinubu's speech failed to address the demands of Nigerians. I pray that God will help us come to that place we all desire for Nigeria, so that we can have the men and women who will do what will truly propel this country forward. May God bless you.